as people are lining up on the bridges over the 405. They've been doing this as we've been following this pursuit now.
That famous slow-speed car chase down a Los Angeles freeway with dozens of police cars trailing a white Ford Bronco, marking a stunning fall for grace. From grace, that is, for O.J. Simpson as the world held its collective breath. That live slow crawl was at the center of a media frenzy and became one of the most memorable moments in television history. Zoey Tur was the person behind the camera and at the cockpit of the helicopter. She joins us now from San Francisco. So, Zoey, thank you for being here. You were the first to document this now infamous car chase. Take me back to that moment that you decided, I'm going to track this Bronco down.
Well, I was at LAPD headquarters in downtown Los Angeles, Parker Center, waiting for O.J. Simpson to surrender himself. There were about 150 reporters there waiting for him. And then the LAPD press spokesperson, Lieutenant Gascon, came out and said that O.J. Simpson was a fugitive. He was in the wind. And I was so taken aback. I couldn't believe that O.J. Simpson had not turned himself in. So I turned to my crew and I said, let's get in the helicopter and let's find this guy. Now, they kind of like rolled their eyes because, you know, we've got thousands and thousands of miles of freeways and roads and over 10 million people, and every police officer, every reporter is trying to find O.J. Simpson. So I decided to go and fly down to Orange County, about 90 minutes south of LA. Took me 20 minutes in the helicopter, and I took a look at the gravesite, and no OJ. There was an undercover police unit standing by, so they had the same idea I had. Then we heard on one of the frequencies, the FBI frequencies, that O.J. Simpson's Bronco, white Bronco, had been triangulated using the cell phones, triangulated to an area that was literally right where I was at. So I looked through the chin bubble of the helicopter, and there was a white Bronco.
Wow.
And within minutes, there was another police car, another police car, another police car, and with the flip of the switch, we had over 100 million people watching this surreal scene.
I remember this. I was transfixed, as were people around the world, to the television just watching this happen. And as the chase went on, Zoey, there were people that would line the highway with signs. As this all unfolded, what was going through your mind?
It was such a macabre scene, and I kept flashing back to the murder scene and how horrific that was. And yet people, I'm talking, a lot of people, thousands of people lined the route like it was some sort of, watching O.J. Simpson running his last run, But what was surreal is that O.J. Simpson was such a beloved figure. He was beamed into everyone's homes. We watched him in Hertz commercials. We watched him in the Naked Gun series. We watched, watched him as an athletic, star. And this was the perfect storm of celebrity and violence, and it was people everywhere were transfixed. People didn't go on vacations. People didn't get on flights. They sold more pizzas that day than even Super Bowl. And it was such a moment for America. And then it became about race, like it was inevitably going to be. Right. And so, again, this was a city that was healing. We had the riots in April 29th, 1992, that cost $1 billion damage and killed 56 people. And now, a few years later, we're dealing with OJ and the LAPD again, and this, these divisions between, race. So it was just an incredible moment in history.
It certainly was, and it was a moment in history before social media, before everybody could look at things on their device, so people had to watch television. And I remember watching it, and then, the coverage said he has a gun to his head, and then his friend who was in the car called in. Did you know all of this was going on at the time? And what was your reaction as this played out? And then eventually he went to his Brentwood home.
Well, I did know it was going on. We had aboard the aircraft, we had all the police and fire radios, and we started tuning them directly to the frequencies and that police were using in this situation. So I was able to hear that. I was able to hear conversations by the LAPD SWAT teams. I knew that that Al Callings was the driver of the vehicle. He owned the Bronco, that he was heading toward O.J. Simpson's home on Rockingham. And so we knew where we were going. But along the route, I was there first to report it for about 20 minutes, followed up by another helicopter from another TV station. And then before you know it, there were, 18 helicopters, 2 airplanes, and it was like something out of Apocalypse Now. So you can imagine the difficulties flying through that. And the airspace was so small because we were just over a white Bronco and eventually over his estate on Rockingham. But anyway, he got off the freeway, headed toward the Rockingham estate, and it was there that police took him into custody. But before they did, there was a brief moment of standoff where I could actually hear the SWAT team members, they had O.J. Simpson in their sights, and they were ready to take him down if he did anything that would endanger others. Fortunately, O.J. Simpson dropped the .38 caliber handgun, got out of the white Bronco, and surrendered to homicide detectives. He was booked in at the LAPD headquarters, and then, of course, there was the trial, and it divided the city along racial lines.
Well, many would say it divided the country along racial lines as well. Zoey, I wonder, when you look back now, you're still a journalist, and this was, by all accounts, a media circus of proportions, we had not seen for some time until recently. But what do you think about the media coverage when you look back now? Did media at that point in time get it right?
I think we got it right back then, but what really didn't stand out at the time was that this was the very birth of reality television. Here you can get an audience a lot larger than Super Bowl covering a news story. And so now we see reality television, crime reality television everywhere. We have networks devoted to crime. Crime has become a staple in our television and social media diets, unfortunately, and it does give a false impression of crime being everywhere. It's fear, and fear sells. And unfortunately, we have a lot of fear to sell on television and on social media. So as well-intentioned, as news coverage was back then, and especially with the news helicopter, it's turned into something else that it wasn't supposed to be. News is not supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to keep you knowledgeable about the situations going on in your local area, your state, your country, your world. And it's not meant to be entertainment. And unfortunately, the lines have blurred.
They certainly have. Zoey, fascinating conversation. Appreciate your time here on Canada Tonight. That is Zoey Tur, who was the helicopter pilot and journalist, captured O.J. Simpson's chase on the Los Angeles freeway. That is, Zoey, our thanks to you once again.